It's okay to ask for help. This quote is so simple, and yet it carries so much meaning and power. Good afternoon, fellow Midlandians, Mr. Kidd, Mrs. Bett, Mr. Hudden, and Mr. Anderson. Before I begin, I want to thank my mom and dad for always supporting me and staying up till 2 a.m. today to watch my speech. And my brother, Kensho, for being a great older brother, even though you annoy me. I also want to thank all my friends here at Midfield. This past year at this school has been a roller coaster, and I really couldn't have done it without you guys. Now, back to the quote. It's okay to ask for help. This was a quote that I recently saw when I was riding the TTC. Now, for those of you who don't know what the TTC is, it's the Toronto Transit Commission. The concept of being able to ask for help is such a basic concept, and the TTC is right. It is okay to ask for help. But for it to be okay, we have to change the societal norms so people can actually open up to each other. The COVID-19 pandemic has been a really tough time for everyone. Having all that time by ourselves in isolation, we've gotten used to sleeping off and downplaying our problems. Now that might have worked for that short period of time, but suppressing all of these problems is like throwing a Mentos inside a Coke bottle and closing it. Eventually, the bottle will explode. We're also slowly getting back to normalcy, and although that's amazing, it also means that there are so many more things, or Mentos, that are being added to your Coke bottle. For a long time, I chose to keep that bottle closed, thinking I could just sleep everything off and it'd be okay. However, I started to realize that bottling up your problems made them even worse. Because I bottled my problems up, all of them came crashing down at once. So instead of having one problem to deal with, I had a whole handful of them to deal with at one time. For a period of time, I was constantly feeling down, and my mind was always full. I couldn't relax. There was always something in my head. Does anyone care about me? Do I matter? There was always something that was bothering me. So why am I telling you this? Well, I'm telling you this because I don't want anyone to go through what I went through. I thought bottling my problems up would help me because if I don't acknowledge my problems, they won't bother me, right? Well, I was wrong. Let's quickly break down the pros and cons of bottling up your problems. Pro number 1, you don't have to deal with the problem at the moment. Pro number 2, maybe you can downplay the problem in your head and it doesn't bother you anymore. Con number 1, it'll eventually build up, and sooner or later it'll hit you. Con number 2, when it does hit, it's going to hit much harder than if you just faced the problem at the start. Con number 3, instead of dealing with just one problem at a time, you're most likely going to have to face multiple different problems, which you could probably sleep off, but the cycle's just going to keep continuing. And this list of cons just keeps going on, and this is only based on my own experiences. It's normal to not be okay, but how you deal with your problems is what's important. The best thing you can do is talk to someone. You should always feel like you can talk to someone about your problems, but this is where we all have to do our part. According to Google, the word friend is defined as a person whom one knows and with whom one has a bond of mutual affection. Part of the affection that friends have is the feeling that you can trust and that you're always there for each other, not just during all of the highs, but through the lows as well. That's obviously not the easiest thing to do either. Sometimes it can be tough and maybe even awkward, but even just being present there for your friends can mean so much to them. It's so important that you support your friends and that you're there for them when they need you. One thing that we don't realize is that there are so many people that we talk to every day who suppress their problems. Maybe they don't want to burden others with their problems, or they don't want to waste your time. Even the happiest looking people can be dealing with so much. Even people that are constantly surrounded by people can feel alone. And even people with the biggest smiles on can be hurting on the inside. That's why it's so important to be there for your friends. Even just asking how their day's been. It's enough to show that you're friends, that you're there for them. It's so important to create this atmosphere so that your friends know they can come to you when they need to. As long as you're present and ready to listen, they will know that they aren't alone. There will be times where you won't be able to say anything or contribute, but showing them that they're not alone goes a long way. Another thing you can do is really take the time to know your friends. What I mean by that is to take the time to learn about your friends' cultures, their hobbies, their likes, and maybe even their dislikes. In our busy lives, we don't take the time to learn these things. Most of our conversations go something like this. Hey, that's about it. And that's usually when we're walking to class or on the way to activities. Although these interactions are still valuable, you don't really learn anything about your friends. I have a feeling a lot of you don't know your close friend's favorite color. Even learning small things like that can help your friends and tell them that you do care, and they do have people that care about them. By really knowing your friends, you can pick up on small cues when they aren't okay and help them through the dark place that they're in. Even if they don't want the help, that feeling that someone cares is so important. There's a line in one of my favorite songs called You Will Be Found. This line goes, every time that you call out, you're a little less alone. This line resonates so much with me in what I said today, because every time you ask for help, you become less afraid to ask the next time. So in case you fell asleep, here are the main takeaways that I want you to take. Number 1, don't bottle up your feelings. And don't bottle up your problems. By bottling them up, you might be solving them for now, but all the problems they'll most likely come crashing down all at once. Number 2, it's okay not to be okay. There's always going to be someone there to lift you up when you're down. And number 3, be there for your friends. Really take the time to learn more about them so that you can be there for them. And the most important message that I want you to take, you are not alone. Thank you.
Shunsho. Great reflection. The other side of reaching out and asking for help is that it's often reciprocal, because the people who you ask for help, oftentimes they want to help. It gives them purpose and meaning, and it makes them feel like they do have a purpose in their lives. So it is reciprocating as well. So thank you very much. We now have a special performance from our choir. I'm going to allow Kishi to introduce the song. Is that correct? That's what it says here. And this is from the choir.
Good afternoon, everybody. Today the choir is going to be singing You Will Be Found from dear Evan Hansen. Shunsho mentioned earlier in his speech, and we hope you guys enjoy it.
Have you ever felt like nobody was there? Have you ever felt forgotten in the middle of nowhere? Have you ever felt like you could disappear? Like you could fall and no one would hear? Well, let that lonely feeling wash away. Maybe there's a reason to believe you'll be okay. 'Cause when you don't feel strong enough to stand, you can reach out your hand. And know someone will come running, and I know they'll take you dark comes crashing through, when you need a friend to carry you, and when you're broken on the ground, you will be found. So let the sun come streaming in, 'cause you'll reach up and you'll rise.